Happy Sunday, folks, fans, spectators, and the like. This is Mont here on the Armchair Pundits post-match review show for Man United. First of all, glad the football's back. I'm not going to ask much of you through the post-matches, but there's one thing I would like everyone to do as soon as they see our show. Click the below, subscribe, click the like, thumbs up if you liked it, obviously. And make sure you comment, leave a little comment. Them little boosts of, comments help us to know how to gear our shows going forward. So moving on swiftly. First, I would say big game of the weekend, of the Premier League weekend. Man United versus Arsenal at OT. Did I go into this game confident? Yeah, I did. Did I think we were going to blow Arsenal away? No, I didn't. Pretty much landed how I thought it would in regards to very tight game. There wasn't much to talk about from an Arsenal perspective to begin with, to be honest, because they didn't really look like they were posing a threat. However, Man United definitely looked up for the game, and really looked like we wanted to take the game to Arsenal, which was a huge boost for me to see. So if you're wondering why I've just started laughing, I just remembered that on one of the shows I've done in the last week or so, I did comment and say that we would probably win 4-2. Yeah, might need to scratch that and edit that one out, I think. Look, you got to go into these games pretty confident, don't you? Going back to the game, yeah, we took the game to Arsenal. And if I'm honest, I feel like if we had started with a bigger threat as a 9, I'm going to say Šeško. If he had started, do I think the game would have been a little bit different? I think so. I feel like the centre-backs would have had more to think about. I feel like Mbeumo and Cunha would have more than likely had more freedom. However, we still stayed to our task. The 4-2-3-1 for me, was 4-2-3-1. The 3-4-2-1, sorry, Amorim's tactics, or the way he lined us up, looked pretty good. The high press, pretty much one-on-one. The wing threats with Mbeumo and Dugu, and also, Mbeumo and Cunha going down the channels, they were pretty sound. The midfield rotation with Fernando, Cunha, and Mason Mount, that was nice to see. Some going into the 8, some going into the 10. And occasionally, the keeper stepping into the centre-back role to kind of act as a quarterback, but that came late into the game. I will say that I admire his bravery, because anybody starting a season against a big club like Arsenal, and I'll call them a big club because they are recognised, you would probably be a little bit more pragmatic or a little bit more, reserved about how you're going to approach the game. But I guess when you're playing at home and you've had such a woeful season like Amorim did last season, you'd have to really hit the ground running and go into the game fearless, which I believe he did. So yeah, we got beat by, good old faithful set piece. Set piece FC managed to get a corner, and Calafiori scored a goal from it. The ball was basically already going over the line, but again, when you crowd the keeper, Bandaya is not exactly the biggest, or when I say the biggest, I'm talking in terms of the strongest keeper in them kind of situations. So he got overpowered, and pretty much Calafiori, or Cauliflower as I like to call him, had a free header, 1-0 Arsenal. Outside of that, they didn't really have much to offer up front. Gyökeres was, I should say, horrible, but wasn't great. up top today. Very isolated, but I'll touch on that a little bit later on. I've got to be honest, the Declan Rice corners seem to be the death of a lot of people in terms of conceding goals. So Arsenal done well to, make the most of that. I honestly believe like that was the only way they were going to score today was from a set piece, because in open play, they didn't look at it at all. They didn't look like they were posing any kind of threats until maybe Hazard came on later on. Just a couple of things to touch on for me, really. I think like the first game of the season, I think there's nothing really negative to go on other than we're still lacking goals. We posed loads of threats today. We hit the post by Dorgu. Couple of good saves from Rea on the back of a shot from Mbomo and Cunha. Outside of that, I feel like there was a lot of blocks done by the Arsenal defenders in the box to stop us from getting a clean shot off at Rea. But yeah, there was points in the game where we was pinning Arsenal down. Okay, they're the away team, so it's almost half expected. But Arsenal are a strong team, and they're normally the ones that want to really go forward. And I didn't really see that from them today. So that's a testament to the way that I guess the players' mindsets were, and also the way Ruben set us up. So I'm happy to see that if we carry the performance on today, and include some goals, for sure, I'm seeing us top 3, top 4 come the end of the season. I'm pretty sure someone said we'll win the league. I'm not too sure who that person is, but I might touch on it on a couple pods down the line. So yeah, couple of pointers like I mentioned earlier. I think Bandaya was at cost for the goal that we conceded today. He misjudged the corner. He was under a bit of pressure by Saliba, like I said. And that, for me, really cost us. I think he has costed us a couple of goals during the pre-season. And again, it kind of circles back to the issue that we have with the goalkeeper scenario. So even our backup keeper isn't necessarily reliable. So that's obviously something to really look at. Onana's not going to be worried seeing the way that how he performed today. He'll just be saying, when I'm fit, I'm jumping straight back in. So I feel like we do need to do some business before the end of the summer window, but very, very doubtful. What I did like to see today is really two bright debutants in Cunha and Bomo. They were really, really at it from the jump. I mean, they were lively. They were forcing errors. They were on the front foot, linking up very well with Mason Mount, I must say. So that's really good. And they were persistent. Both of them possessed a goal threat today. And it's very, very unlucky that they didn't both bag one each, to be quite honest, even before half time. But out of the two, I would say that Mbomo had a better game today. He was electric, and he got a lot of the ball because he was in acres of space in the wide area. It's just through the lack of finishing that he didn't manage to get his goal today, which is unfortunate. So going on to our opponents, Arsenal. So they've had a few years now that we're really and truly, they should be winning the league, right? I mean, if they play like the way they did today against the teams that maybe pose a bigger attacking threat than we do at the moment, and I'll say at the moment because I just feel like our front three haven't gelled just yet. But for the ones that are more established or have gelled already because of how well they played together, obviously, I feel like Arsenal may come unstuck. And I feel like they'll struggle to, turn teams over and keep them from scoring, because Rea has, and I've seen it towards the end of last season, he's got a mistake or two in him. Today he tried to drop his shoulder on Cunha, and then it was a shoulder-to-shoulder scenario with Cunha. Cunha got the better of him, but it was just because he miscontrolled the ball why it rolled out to, I think it was the other centre-back or maybe the full-back. So he was very, very lucky there. But if we'd have got the ball there, Mbeumo was very close to picking up that ball, and I'm pretty sure he would have just taken a shot from distance. So Raya got lucky there. But I feel like he's going to start testing. Oh, well, I think his complacency is going to get tested towards, in the next couple of games. William Saliba. Aren't you Arsenal fans lucky to have him? The last-ditch challenge on Cunha in the 6-yard box could have made it 1-1. We were very unfortunate. So, well done you. I think really and truly what I really want from our guys is just to make sure that we've got a focal point in the middle of the box when the ball's out wide. Because I feel like there was a few times today where the ball was out wide or one of the wingers had the ball at the edge of the box and they were the furthest player up the pitch. And there was nobody central or even on the other side of the box to receive the ball for a target. So that's easy defending for any team, especially at 1-0 up. You got 6 players in the box defensively and you've only got one attacker. That's easy pickings. So I feel like that's when you want your Sheshkos or your Hoylands. I said it low on purpose. To be in the box so that they can be a bit of a nuisance. But again, it's something to work on. Tactically, United dominated Arsenal today. I think we had probably over 60% of ball possession. We pressed aggressively. There were lots of early runs. And we just didn't make the most of it in the end, clearly, by the 1-0 margin. I think Arsenal can walk away and say to themselves, they were lucky to get the win, but they can also look and say to themselves, you know what? We could absorb pressure and we can also say that we can manage a counter-attack. And I'd argue that they did show some signs of maturity in the way that they kind of played at points, running the ball towards the corner flag, being a bit aggressive in some challenges to win fouls, even going down. I think Havertz, when he came on for Gyökeres, he came on and he was making himself a nuisance. He went down on a few soft challenges and won a couple of fouls. And yeah, that just kind of wears down the minutes. So for me, it was very, very frustrating at large points of the game, especially as I feel like we were the better side. So like I touched on earlier, we had a couple of missed opportunities. One with Dorgu, hit the ball from outside the box. Raya was beaten, but he's just gone and hit the outside of the post. And then we had a couple from Cunha and Mbeumo. But obviously, despite the attacking intent, we couldn't break Arsenal's compact shape down. And yeah, they pretty much defended with 11 men behind the ball. So last but not least, I'm going to go on to the player ratings. So I'll start from the defence and I'll work my way up. I got Bayern Dier. I'm going to give him a 3.5. No, in fact, we're going to do full numbers. I'm going to give Bayern Dier a 3. For me, he doesn't make that silly mistake. We don't lose that game. I feel like at 0-0, we break Arsenal down at some point and we probably go out the victors. So for us, it was a costly mistake. Lenny Euro played superb for me today. I'm going to give him a 7. Strong in his tackle, confident in possession, and very, very good at bringing the ball up the pitch and kind of breaking down Arsenal's play when they did try to attack. De Ligt, I'm going to give him a 7 also. I feel like he played central up until the point that Harry Maguire came in. He was very solid. He kept Gyökeres very quiet. He was physical in the challenge and he was very composed throughout the entire time. He played central, and then he moved over to the right-hand side and continued to play at the same level. So that's another 7 for De Ligt. Luke Shaw, well done to Luke Shaw. Again, another defensive, good defensive display. I'm glad to have him back. I'm going to give him a 7 also. He kept Saka quiet for the most part. Again, he was very aggressive. And there was at points, I think there was once or twice from the left centre-back where he was in the opposing box, crossing the ball in, which, showing opposing threat, or possessing a threat like that from the left-hand side, brilliant. So, yeah, welcome back to fitness, Shaw. Hopefully you can stand the test of the season. Diogo Dalot, weren't too convinced with Diego, not for anything other than just the pace. I think defensively he was fine, but attacking-wise, I think he struggled to keep up just because Mboma was quite fast and he moved the ball quickly. And at times, I feel like the overlap was very delayed. So for me, I'm going to say Diogo Dalot, I'm going to give you a 6. But that's, it's a higher end of the 6, but it's a 6 nonetheless. We'll start central. I'm going to give Casemiro a 6. Didn't do much, but he was very smart in possession. For me, he done things very simple today. He got the ball out and he was just passing it out wide to Mboma, who was free, or he'll pass it out to Dorgu, who will be free in the wide positions. But he didn't do enough standout for me to kind of really affect the attacking play. So I can't warrant more than a 6. Bruno, I'm going to give you a 7. Captain Bruno. He was our talisman, but I feel like there's still more gears from him. I think his focus was where he was sitting deep. I don't feel like he was as effective today. Maybe it's because he was next to Casemiro. I'm not too sure. Maybe it was still understanding the Mboma and Cunha kind of, their runs and their movement. I'm not too sure. But he didn't look his normal self today. So for me, I'm going to give him a 7, only because he had a lot to do with all the set pieces, and the creative side did come from him when we were going forward. Dorgu, I'm going to give Dorgu an 8. Now, the reason why I'm going to give Dorgu an 8, I feel like he hit the post. He was lively on the left. He was physical. He was energetic. He was almost unplayable at times today. And he was really in the game from the jump. So I feel like he warrants an 8. Brian Mbeumo, he started a bit slow, not going to lie, but he definitely picked it up very quickly. I'm going to warrant him an 8. I feel like he posed a consistent threat. He was very unlucky not to score a header, which I forgot to mention earlier on in my review, but it was a header that looped over, came from Dorgu. It was a high looping cross. It was so high it went over Šeško, who was in a jumping position, so he was at his peak. But Mbeumo came on as the ball was dropping down and managed to get a head on it low, but Raya managed to make a save, so that was really good. And he posed some other threats also in terms of just beating his man one-on-one. But so Mbeumo gets an 8 from me. Mason Mount, although he was good in the link-up, I don't feel like he was massively effective. So I'm going to give him a 6. I do feel like we needed more of a number 9 than someone like himself. But he had good link-up play today. And he did drift centrally to try and support our attacks. But when we needed someone in the middle, he was one of the guys that weren't there, to be honest. And Cunha, I'm going to give Cunha an 8 because his movement was great today. He had a bright spell for about 15, 20 minutes. Every time he got the ball, he was dribbling through, 3 or 4 Arsenal men and to get the ball on his own and even enable himself to crack off a shot. Forced Raya multiple saves today and was quite creative in possession. My last 4, we've got Amad Diallo. I think I'm going to give Amad Diallo a 6, only because he had limited time. But his 1v1 battles was very good. He wasn't as effective in a game like today. I feel like this was a game for him maybe to start. I think maybe Amorim was a little bit more reserved. He wanted someone a bit more defensive-minded. because of the Martinelli factor of Arsenal's attack, but that Martinelli was ineffective today. So, yeah, I think Diallo could have started, and I reckon he would have probably made a difference. But either which way, Diallo didn't really make an impact when he came on. Yes, he beat his man 1v1, but didn't create much else. Ugarte, he gets a 6. I feel like he gave us a bit more stability. Also added some extra legs in there. Kaz's legs kind of went with all the chasing of the midfielders for Arsenal. I think Šeško, he was quiet, but he had like 15 minutes, maybe give or take a minute or two. But he had 15 minutes. He struggled to really influence the game. He didn't really get a touch of the ball. The one touch he got, it wasn't a great one, although it fell to a Man United player in the end. But yeah, he didn't really influence the game how I would have liked to. But I feel like this game was a game for him to start, in my opinion. Last but not least, Harry Maguire. No impact at all for me. I don't believe that sub was required. But again, I know Amorim likes to change around his centre-backs. So guys, hopefully I've not been ranting on too long. This is my first for this season of many. Please don't forget to subscribe. Do not forget to like, and do not forget to share. See you next week. Peace.